Welcome to another episode of Connect and Convert, the Sales Accelerator podcast, where small business owners come to learn the insider secrets about growing their sales faster than ever. Hi, I'm Dennis Collins. I'm joined, as always. She's still coming back. I don't know. I
Hey,
haven't
you
scared
can't
her
get
away.
rid of
Hi,
me.
Leah.
Hi,
Leah
Dennis. How you doing?
Bumfree, my partner in crime. Welcome back. Hey, today I love days like this for our podcast because we have a very special guest. I love to have guests, and this one is particularly special. So let me give him a proper introduction. How would that be? Okay.
Yeah.
His name is Todd
Yes.
Bryant. Todd Bryant. Todd is a husband, the father of two adorable kids. He's the founding partner of Signature Wealth Partners, which is a financial planning business. He is an author. Yes, he is an author. He is one of the top 40 under 40 awardee in the Orlando area. He is on Fox 35 TV at 11 p.m. on Channel 35 here in Orlando. He is a proud graduate of the University of Central Florida, and he mentors in the School of Business there, has mentored many different people in the School of Business. He's also an award-winning speaker. Yes, he is a fabulous speaker. So it's my pleasure to welcome my friend and the founding partner of Signature Wealth Partners, Todd Bryant. Hey, Todd.
Hey, Todd.
Hey, Dennis and
Welcome.
Leah. Yeah, thank
Hey,
you. Appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
thanks for taking time, man. I mean, you probably are out there helping many people. What is it, though? Tell us the secret. Who needs a financial planner? I get that question from some of my friends. Do I need a financial planner? And I'm at a loss to answer it. Maybe you can help us. Who needs a financial planner?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dennis. I'd say that, from time to time, I come across people where they reach out to me, they're referred to me, or there's some way in which we get connected. And I will devote at least an intro meeting just to anybody that comes, especially as a referral from someone that I work with or trust or know. And I will sometimes tell them, hey, here's a couple of things you should be doing, but you don't really need me at this point, or maybe you don't need a financial advisor. But I'd say anytime there's a big financial decision to be made about something, we call them milestones in life. So whenever there's a milestone in your life, whether that's getting a new job or starting a business or maybe selling a business or retiring is the big milestone in which the majority of my clients need some assistance with. We were there for that milestone to be able to help them in making smart decisions. And I just got off the phone with some clients who are considering a vacation home purchase. And there's a lot that you need to think about and consider when it comes to that. So I am the one that's involved in those conversations. So I think people could use some financial advice or financial planner in many of those instances. But there's also some people out there that maybe they don't necessarily need to hire a financial advisor to work with on an ongoing basis, but there are different times in which they could maybe consult with one on more of a smaller scale of just maybe an hourly service, that type of thing.
That's fascinating. You just never know. But when in doubt, call Todd. We were kind of kidding before, when you look up financial planners, first of all, there's a ton of people in your industry, and you all have the alphabet soup after your names, right? The C, this and that and the other. I mean, and we were kind of joking around before, but what is that alphabet soup all about? And what should somebody be looking for if they're looking to hire a financial planner?
Yeah, it's a great question, Dennis. And yeah, a lot of times there's other careers that are like that as well. I know in engineering, there's different designations afterwards. Realtors seem to have a lot of them too. Commercial real estate has its own.
Yeah.
So in the financial world, there are a lot of those different initials. And when I first started, I was 23 years old. I looked like I was about 13. One of my very first clients actually asked me in a meeting if I'd started shaving. That was his big question. So I kind of realized, okay, I'm probably going to look young for a long period of time. So if I could work really hard on all of the alphabet soup, I would then could have a little bit more knowledge and show that I actually had a passion for what I'm doing. And I've spent a lot of time, many hours and many dollars in perfecting my craft and learning more about it. So I was able to, actually, I had a goal where I wanted the initials after my name to be more than the actual letters that were in my name, which once I achieved that goal, I promised my wife, and I'm like, okay, no more tests and no more studying, anything else like that. But yeah, when you're looking for something, a big buzzword over the past 5 or so years is fiduciary. And advisors who are not acting as a fiduciary are actually not acting in the legal best interest of their clients. They are acting for something that would be suitable given the recommendations that they've given, but they're not legally acting in that person's best interest, which could then open up a lot of doors to making a lot of suggestions or recommendations that is not going to be in their best interest. And within that buzzword, that's actually the fourth out of the designations I have is the AIF. It's Accredited Investment Fiduciary. So that was one that I got so that I can bring that up in meetings. One of the things that I show people with a potential new meeting is I actually put together a piece that says these are the 5 things you should look for in a financial advisor relationship. And I encourage them when they're looking to hire me, I tell them to check out a couple other different sources as well. I want you to interview usually 3 different people before you make a decision on what you're going to do. And I'll address some of those designations and things within that meeting. The most recognized one is the CFP, Certified Financial Planner. And last I saw, about 25% of the advisors out there have that designation. So I always say that's a really good place to start, because to have the CFP designation, they need to have at least 3 years of experience, and they need to have gone through a long line of very difficult tests, and then a capstone program, and then a lot of continuing education, and they're held to a standard above and beyond just the fiduciary standard. So if they have the CFP and they're fiduciary, that's a really good start for making sure that someone's hiring the right person.
Todd, I've found up here in Canada over the last 30, 40 years, for me, I'm often getting calls from people who have done a career switch, and all of a sudden they're a financial planner. This is what they're doing, and they want to sit down and they want to look and they want to, and I only got sucked in once, and she was a neighbor and a girlfriend, and it did not end well for me. And that little, my husband was right. But I think that's something people experience, and you have a relationship with someone and then they want to take it to that next level. Is that something that you've seen a lot of, that second career?
Yeah, definitely. It's, I've seen a number of people, and since this is also talking about sales as well, that whether it's a financial advisor or some sort of sales position, you see that person calling on your phone and you're like, okay, now what are they doing today? What are they selling me this time? I had a friend that worked with me at the first firm that I started my career in, and was really kind of harping on the friends and family very heavily. And I wanted the friends and family, I wanted them to be aware of what I did, but I didn't want it to be like, oh, here's, every Thanksgiving, Todd's sitting around the table trying to pitch us on his investment strategies. Or whenever we, didn't want to be at the 10-year and 20-year reunions with people kind of turning their heads, oh, here comes the financial guy. So I did want them to be aware of it, and I wanted them to obviously call me whenever some of those milestones I mentioned were coming up, and be one of those first phone calls. But I didn't want to be pestering them and doing that. But a lot of people in my industry, they get started somewhere. Maybe they start as like a junior advisor at a larger firm, and they can kind of start that way. Or maybe they work at a bank where people are literally walking in the door and opening, they've got these large bank accounts, and they'll kind of pass them on to the advisor. Or a lot of people I know, like their parents, maybe their mom or their dad was a financial advisor, and they're just kind of taking over the business. I chose to do it the hard way, which involved starting with no book of business on day one. I've never had a salary job in my life. It was all commission from the start, and it just happened to be 2008, which was not a very favorable year to get started in.
Whoopsie.
Wow.
That takes a lot of courage, buddy, to hang in during that mess, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Bravo.
You said something before in answering the question about how you tell your clients or prospective clients, shop around. I want you to talk to, I think you said 3 people before you decide on me. And as you know, our podcast is devoted to all things sales. And that just rang a bell with me. How many small business owners actually have the courage to do that? I know a lot of small business owners who do everything to avoid that, about telling you about their competition or inviting you to shop their competition. Interesting that you do that. Talk to us about how you decided to run your business that way. It's certainly not the norm in a lot of industries. How did you come upon this, and how does it work for you?
Yeah, so if I have people that come into the office, and I'm also really trying to push to do that first meeting as a sit down one-on-one in my office. I want them to see, where I work and see the nice paintings on the wall and those types of things. But I want them to be able to really build that rapport face to face. And then afterwards, if they become clients, we could do more Zoom meetings or phone calls or those types of things. But in part of that discussion, I'd say I'm very fortunate that 95+% of the people that are coming in were referred to me. They came as a referral. Right. So there's not too many that are just coming in kind of coldly. I do have one this week who is going to be, I think they found me through my website somewhere and scheduled the meeting that way. But I'll kind of go over just, hey, here's the overview. I want to learn a lot more about them and get into, why they came in and what brought them in. But as part of that overview of saying, here's a couple of things you should be looking for, I figured, like in Leah's experience of having a friend that just got into the business and reached out, that's going to happen. And I'd rather they start kind of seeing what else is out there now as opposed to a couple of years from now. And they get a call from their cousin who all of a sudden got a job working for XYZ firm and is going to hit them up. And then they're going to feel obligated to potentially give some business to their cousin. And I don't know what the current stats are, but when I was early on in the career, about 90% of the people that get started in this career are not going to be in it 5 years from now. So wow. I would see a larger firm that I started off with, and I would see people leave. And just the way my brain works, I was like, it's a shame to see them go. I wish them success in whatever field they get into. But that just helped my percentages because that's one less person I'm battling to try to make sure I can be within that 10%. I do want to encourage them to kind of see what else is out there. And a lot of times they're going to get a different experience. I mean, actually all the time they're going to get a different experience with me and my firm versus others, because also a lot of that competition that's out there is going to be more pushy or more aggressive or more salesy. And we see that happen a lot. One of the first questions I always ask is, are you currently working with an advisor, or have you worked with one in the past? Or what's been your experience in working with people in my industry? And a lot of times that answer is what Leah got. And it didn't turn out. Joked, there's a couple of financial advisors here locally in town where I've just kind of joked that I'm just going to follow them around town, because if I can just show up after they've left the meeting, it makes it seem really great for me.
Now, there's a new sales strategy for our listeners and viewers, right?
Absolutely. I love it.
Look for one of your weaker competitors and just follow them around. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Lee and I encourage our listeners, our viewers, to do the uncovery like you just mentioned. We call it an uncovery. Some people call it discovery. To really spend that face-to-face time in person, if possible. And so few do that anymore. It's rushed. Let's get to the close. And we talk incessantly on this podcast about, the opening is the close. The opening is the close. The way you open is the close. And you are living, breathing proof, an example of how this works. That really, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a critical point that we try to get across.
It sounds very much that your process is consumer oriented. It's your end client oriented. That's why you're getting the referrals. Everybody says that they're doing that. If you're talking to, I'm getting into the industry and I'm up here in Canada, so I'm not a competition. What's the one piece of advice you're giving me?
Don't tell her. She'll change her mind.
If I need you to sign something before we get this over.
NDA.
Yeah. So your question, Lee, is if you were getting in the industry, what's the piece of advice?
Yeah. I know you're mentoring people and you want to represent your industry correctly. You're doing things right because you're getting word of mouth advertising, and that is your most powerful referral. That's your most powerful potential client base. But what is the difference? I know it's not free parking.
A toaster with every meeting, a free toaster.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say the advice that I get, because a lot of time I do a lot through UCF here local in Orlando, University of Central Florida, and I speak to a lot of students that say they want to get into this industry. And I remember, so what I've offered in the past before is the mentorships and then also externship, which is a 1-week internship where they can just it's more of a job shadow for a day or two.
Yep.
And I had one where I explained to her what this career is, and then she got to my office and was showing her making cold calls and calling people. And she's like, "Oh, wait a minute, you have to talk to people?" And I said, "Yeah, that's pretty much 100% of the job is talking to people." And she's, "Okay, yeah, no, I don't want to do this."
I'm out. She tapped out right away. Huh?
Yeah. So I think the people that are successful early on, we actually, interestingly enough, when I was with my first firm, it was a larger firm, been around for a long time. And I started off as an intern and then, started full time January 2008. After a couple of years, first year had no success whatsoever, had to convince them to keep me around while working a part-time job on the weekends just to have some food to eat. But outside of that, a couple of years into it, I had some success and I moved into a dual manager/advisor position. And at that time, we actually found that when it came to recruiting new advisors, which now is part of my duties, that the fresh from college kids had a much lower rate of success compared to a career changer where maybe they are 30 years old. They might already have that family in place, maybe a young kid or two, and they're married and a mortgage. But now they have 7 or 8 years of professional connections, and then they can reach out to people kind of like you got reached out to, where they already like them, they already know them from a professional standpoint, and they feel more comfortable and say, okay, you were pretty successful in your old life of doing this. You'll probably be successful in doing this. I know you professionally. I like you. Then I'll work with you. We saw a lot more success with those types of career changers as opposed to the ones that were just fresh out of college. And because when I was calling people initially and just saying, "Oh yeah, hey, this is what I'm doing. I want you to be aware." And they'd be like, "Weren't you getting drunk with my son last weekend, down in the woods somewhere?" And yeah, but I'm wearing a tie today. It's okay.
I'm different.
You know what? As somebody in their 30s with kids and a mortgage, they're going to be a little bit differently motivated. And that's interesting.
Yeah. One thing that's hard to do, I think, in your industry, we talk to our clients and to our listeners and viewers a lot about differentiation. Okay. And in your industry, there are, as Leah was pointing out, there are some part-timers who just do this for fun on the side. And there are people who are not terribly qualified to do this. But how do you differentiate Todd and Signature Wealth Partners? How do you guys differentiate you from all the rest?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dennis. And over the years, I've kind of found that there's really been 3 key areas, which I've already almost touched on a little bit, that people seem to gravitate towards me particularly and our firm because, Todd Bryant's not the most innovative name out there. And Signature Wealth Partners, there's 3 other firms I can think of right now that have the word signature in them. So there's not too much of a differentiation there. But the 3 aspects that I've found to be the most important are trust, and then at least think that they know what I'm doing. People need to like me, they need to trust me, and then they have to think that I know what I'm doing. And for them to like me, a lot of that just comes with the personality. And like I talked about before, is not being pushy, not being aggressive, not being, overly salesy. Fortunately, as my business has grown over the years, I can't take on every client anymore. In the early days, we joked that if the 2 qualifications to become my client where they needed to have a checkbook and a heartbeat. If they had a checkbook and a heartbeat, we'll bring them in. But now they need
Very
to have
high standards there,
assets.
Todd. Very high standards.
So now they need to have certain size assets and things to do that.
Yeah.
Because of the referrals that are coming in, I have to say no to a lot more people than I actually say yes to. But in liking somebody, I look at it as a 20 to 30 year relationship. I mean, a lot of times the information I get from people, what they share with me is going to be it's going to be deeper than they've shared with anybody outside of their spouse. And sometimes I seem to learn more about their finances than they might have even shared with their spouse, which is usually not a good thing.
Yes, so, we need another professional for that problem.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I am sitting on the couch here in my office, so I kind of play the role as financial therapist every once in a while as well.
I'm sure you do.
But so is very important, because I'd say this is kind of the first date in hopefully a multi-decade relationship. And I think it's important that we like each other and that you like me when you see me calling, that you want to pick up that call and talk about things. The trust also comes over time. And fortunately, because most of them are referrals, then the trust is already really inundated pretty well. As if I get a call from Leah and she said, "Oh, Dennis told me to call you." I've known Dennis for years. I trust him. I think he's a good judge of character. I think he's put me in the right path. When I get a really solid referral, it's usually a very good chance of me landing them as a client just based off the trust factor right there. But I do get some clients that don't come from a referral. And then I really have to focus really hard on the trust aspect of it. And what I've found is being out there on social media, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, being a guest on several well-known and recognized podcasts such as this one are helpful, because then I can send somebody a link ahead of time and say, "Hey, here's me when I appeared at NASDAQ World Headquarters last March, and you can watch this interview," or "Here's when I was on that podcast with Dennis and Leah," or "Here's when I did this." And I found that if I can kind of get them to know me better through the podcast and through social media, and I have an email newsletter that I get a lot of good reports from clients and prospects on, and they get to know me better through that. They get to go on my website and see pictures of my kids and my family and those types of things.
Yes.
Then they really get to know me, and that helps to build the trust. And then in knowing what I'm doing, that just comes with the years of experience that I've been doing it, and then off the designations and things like we talked about at the beginning. Those are the aspects where I try to differentiate myself.
You are truly a master on social media. I subscribe to a lot of your channels, and you use that perfectly. And what Todd said is absolutely true. You get to meet his wife, his family, his kids, and you get to know Todd as a human being, which is, part of the deal. That's how people get to like you. They don't like the X's and the O's and the figures and the data, but they do Todd, and they do the results that Todd brings to them. This time has flown by, and I really appreciate you coming on. I want you to tell people, our viewers and our listeners, how they can get in touch with you. What's the best way to reach you, Todd?
Yeah, the easiest way is you go to toddbryantcfp.com, toddbryantcfp.com. That's going to take you to my bio on my webpage for our firm. And then from there, you've got links to my LinkedIn, my Twitter, you got my email, you got my phone number, and we can connect that way. But as I mentioned, I'm also pretty active on LinkedIn. So if you're on there, we can connect through there as well.
This has been kind of a manual for a small business owner as to how to do a lot of cool things, how to do a great uncovery, how to get people to like and trust you, how to differentiate yourself. You've hit all the points. Leah, did he leave anything out? I think he covered everything.
Well, I'm going through the mental list. As you know, Todd, we're sponsored by wizardacademy.org in our podcast. And it is about storytelling. It's about transparency. It's about long-term business relationships, not short-term transactional. And yes, there's businesses that do that and do it successfully, but you've chosen a path where you are saying, here I am, this is who I am, and this is what I want to do to make a difference. And exactly why Dennis and I love Wizard Academy so much.
Yep, that's kind of our home base out of Austin, Texas, and we encourage people to check out wizardacademy.org. But you kind of gave a lesson today that could be taught easily at our Wizard Academy. It's all the stuff that we believe in, and you are sitting here as a living proof that it actually works in the real world. Thank you for sharing that. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. And I thank you for coming on, and I wish you nothing but continued success. I hope to see you soon. I know you've got a busy summer ahead, but I'll be looking out for you, buddy. I know you're going to be doing some family things and having some fun, and I hope you enjoy your summer.
Yeah, thank you. You as well, Dennis. Always great to see you, my friend. And Leah, nice to meet you, and I enjoyed speaking with you also.
Too. You bet. We'll see you guys.
This concludes this episode of Connect and Convert. Our guest has been Todd Bryant, a certified financial planner, Signature Wealth. Next time, next week, another topic, another day, another insight into secrets that small business owners need to accelerate their sales. See you next week.